Your brain can spot a fake person in seconds, even before you know why. Sounds impossible, right? Think about it. Have you ever met someone who seemed perfect? They smiled at you. They said all the right things. They were friendly, confident, and charming. Yet something inside you whispered, don't trust them. You had no evidence. No proof. Just a strange feeling you couldn't explain. Then, days, weeks, or even months later, you discovered you were right all along. So what happened? Was it just luck? Or did your brain notice something before your conscious mind did? The answer might completely change the way you see people forever. Because the truth is this. Fake people can fool your eyes, but they rarely fool your instincts. Your brain is constantly scanning every conversation, every facial expression, every tiny change in someone's behavior. Most of this happens without you even realizing it. And once you understand how this works, you'll stop ignoring those quiet feelings that have been trying to protect you all along. The first reason you can sense fake people so quickly is surprisingly simple. Their emotions don't match their behavior. Real emotions flow naturally. Fake emotions have to be performed. That's the difference. When someone is pretending, they're constantly thinking about how they should look instead of simply being themselves. They smile, but their eyes stay empty. They compliment you, but somehow it feels rehearsed. They agree with everything you say, almost too quickly. At first, you can't explain why it feels strange, but your brain notices the mismatch instantly. Imagine meeting someone who laughs at every joke you make. They tell you you're amazing. They agree with every opinion you have. Sounds nice, doesn't it? For a while, yes. But then something starts bothering you. Why does every conversation feel scripted? Because real people aren't perfect. Real friends disagree sometimes. Real conversations have awkward moments. Real emotions are messy. Someone who's always performing eventually starts looking exactly like that. A performer. And that's often the first signal your instincts pick up. But here's the part almost nobody talks about. Your instincts aren't guessing. They're remembering. Every person you've ever met has quietly trained your brain. Maybe you've been lied to before. Maybe someone manipulated your trust. Maybe you had a coworker who smiled in your face but criticized you behind your back. You may not consciously think about those experiences anymore, but your brain never forgot them. It stored every warning sign, every facial expression, every tone of voice, every pattern. Now, whenever you meet someone new, your brain compares them to thousands of people you've met before. And it does all of this in just a few seconds. That's why you sometimes dislike someone immediately without knowing why. It's not because you're judging them unfairly. It's because your brain recognizes familiar patterns before your conscious mind catches up. Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt uncomfortable around one specific person? You couldn't explain it. Later, you found out they had been lying to everyone. Was your instinct magical? No. It simply noticed tiny signals that your conscious mind ignored. And that's what makes your intuition so powerful. But the next reason fake people are easy to sense is even more interesting. Because the harder they try to look perfect, the more obvious they become. The truth is, people who are genuine don't spend all day trying to convince you they're genuine. They simply are. Fake people are different. They constantly managing their image. They think about what to say, how to sound impressive, how to make everyone like them. Ironically, that's exactly what makes them easier to spot. Have you ever noticed someone who always has the perfect story? They know the right people. They've done incredible things. They're always the victim or always the hero. Nothing is ever their fault. Their life sounds almost too perfect. At first, it's impressive, but after a while, it starts feeling unrealistic. Because real life isn't perfect. Real people make mistakes. They admit when they're wrong. They don't need to win every conversation. They don't need everyone to admire them. People who are secure don't constantly chase validation. They let their actions speak for themselves. Fake people do the opposite. They use words to build an image. Authentic people use actions to build trust. And here's something most people completely overlook. Your body often notices danger before your mind does. Have you ever been talking to someone and suddenly felt tense? Maybe your shoulders tightened. Maybe your stomach felt uneasy. Maybe you wanted the conversation to end as quickly as possible. Nothing obvious happened, yet your body reacted anyway. Why? Because your brain was processing hundreds of tiny signals outside your awareness. A forced smile. A fake laugh. An unnatural pause. A look that lasted just a little too long. Tiny details. Individually, they mean almost nothing. Together, they tell a story. Your body hears that story before your thoughts do. Of course, this doesn't mean your instincts are always right. Sometimes anxiety, past heartbreak, or bad experiences can make you suspicious of people who have done nothing wrong. That's why wisdom isn't about blindly trusting every feeling. It's about paying attention, then waiting for patterns. Never judge someone by one conversation. Judge them by consistency. Do their words match their actions? Do they treat everyone with the same respect? Are they honest when there's nothing to gain? Time always reveals what appearances try to hide. And that's why patience is one of the greatest forms of intelligence. Here's something worth remembering. Fake people aren't always loud. They're not always obvious. Sometimes they're incredibly charming. Sometimes they're funny, successful, confident, even kind. That's what makes them difficult to recognize with logic alone. But your instincts aren't looking at appearances. They're looking for consistency. And consistency is incredibly difficult to fake forever. Sooner or later, the mask slips. The stories stop matching. The behavior changes. The contradictions appear. So the next time you meet someone and something feels slightly off, don't panic. Don't accuse them. But don't ignore yourself either. Slow down. Watch. Listen. Give people enough time to reveal who they truly are. Because the truth rarely hides forever. Remember this. Your instincts aren't there to make you afraid of people. They're there to protect your peace. Trust actions more than promises. Trust consistency more than charm. And most importantly, trust yourself. Because fake people can fool your eyes. But they rarely fool the part of you that quietly sees the truth. Now it's your turn. Have you ever met someone who seemed amazing at first, only to discover they were completely different later? Or has your gut ever warned you about someone before you had any proof? Share your story in the comments. I'd love to read it. If you enjoyed this video and want more content on psychology, human behavior, and self-improvement, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss the next one. Thanks for watching. And remember, the people you trust shape the life you live. Choose them wisely.